The movie opens with a commercial plane flying from Los Angeles to Paris in extremely stormy weather. The flight attendants are discussing their plans when they land in Paris. Everything seems great and normal until it's not anymore. The two pilots talk about the special cargo that they are carrying as the last-minute contractor shipment. The entire process is top secret, further having an armed guard wearing a hazmat suit in the hull. If there are any abnormalities in the cargo, they are supposed to contact the two scientists, Dr. Sebastian and Dr. Bennett. These doctors are currently in the midst of an argument. Dr. Lucas's wife Kelly has been used in the experiment, which he isn't quite too happy about. Dr. Bennett threatens him to shut up as Kelly would have been long dead if he didn't use her as his test subject. Lucas doesn't seem too thrilled, but the renegade doctor assures him that they will be able to save thousands of lives. Next, we follow another two passengers, a criminal named Frank who's handcuffed to the cop, Truman. Frank asks for Coke and rum from the flight attendant. Truman stares him down until he changes his orders. The criminal also makes a pass at the flight attendant, Megan, but she's quick to shut him down. Truman seems to have taken a liking to the pretty flight attendant. Now, two football dude bros start playing in the middle of the plane, so Megan snatches their ball and keeps it to herself. Plus, there's some sort of animosity between the girlfriends of the two dudes. Great vacation. We also follow a golfer, Billy, whose wife seems done with his popular status. Although they're on a vacation, he's still asked for autographs and constant meetings. Billy could stop the repeated interruption, but it seems like he chooses not to since he enjoys the attention. While this weird circus is going on amongst the passengers, the weather gets worse. The pilots get down to business and announce to the passengers to put on their seatbelts as they're going to experience strong turbulence. Well, no one asks Kelly, the test subject in the special cargo, to strap up so the violent jerks let her, or rather it, out. Simultaneously, as the boxes in the cargo fall randomly, they injure the guard's legs. Kelly seems normal at first until she crouches down in excruciating pain. Her head throbs as she remembers some traumatic memories. The guard collects himself and realizes that the plane's in danger if she were to escape. He blindly starts shooting her, and though she begs for mercy, he doesn't care. His relief is only short-lived when her body suddenly disappears. Kelly has now turned into a zombie and attacks the poor guard who was just doing his job. Now, the FBI and the general discuss Dr. Bennett, who's a rogue scientist. He has made a new strain of the malaria virus that he had been using to revive dead organs. However, he has mutated the strain to resurrect the dead. Back in the plane, the two dude bros check a flight attendant. One of their girlfriends gets mad. Turns out she's hooking up with his best friend Tony, so that's why she hates Tony's girlfriend. Megan encounters a burly passenger called Paul, who asks her to be careful. She finds his mannerisms extremely creepy and asks him to take his seat. Meanwhile, the turbulence is getting worse to the point that passengers are getting hurt and the luggage is falling out. The pilots lower the altitude to minimize the effects of the turbulence. Tony is hurt in the head and his girlfriend makes fun of him. The other girl takes Tony's side and both of them hilariously start a fight until the pretty flight attendant stops them. The senior pilot, Ray, asks the junior pilot to check the cargo along with the two scientists. Dr. Lucas has a bad feeling about it, but still goes to check the cargo with the junior pilot and the other scientist. In the hull, they are attacked by zombie Kelly and the zombified guard. While they feast on Lucas and the scientist, the junior pilot escapes somehow. He returns and informs Ray about the inhuman creatures below who have now started to infiltrate the passenger hold. Meanwhile, the passenger hold is chaotic because of the turbulence. Frank begs Truman to go to the restroom and threatens to wet his seat if he doesn't take him. Truman dejectedly gets up but bangs his head hard against the ceiling due to the turbulence. He faints, and Frank uses the change to escape. Megan wakes him up later and treats his wounds. They proceed to find the criminal. In the cockpit, Ray informs Paul about the situation in the cargo. Turns out he's an undercover agent working for the TSA. He goes to interrogate Dr. Bennett, but he shuts him down really quickly, stating that it's confidential business. With no other option, he joins forces with Truman to locate Frank, as he's their primary suspect currently. They move to the hull and discover a lot of blood. They suspect that Frank is in the hull and split up to search for him. They enter the vents, and in the darkness, Paul suddenly encounters a horrifying zombie, growling at him. He is quick to shoot him down though. The zombie doesn't die but drops down and attacks Truman instead. While they are in the midst of an intense fight, Paul tries to help by firing a shot. However, the bullet perforates the top layers and accidentally kills a flight attendant. This freaks out the cheater girlfriend, who rushes to the restroom to puke. She repeatedly throws up while her boyfriend and the best friend bang on the door to make sure she's okay. Things get worse for her when she's attacked by a zombie through the washroom mirror. Her boyfriends break into the washroom to save her, but are also unfortunately attacked. One of the flight attendants alerts the pilots, but she's also attacked by Zombie Kelly. On cue, the junior pilot rushes to save her. He frantically attacks the zombie and manages to get it away, but it's too late for the flight attendant. He thinks she has passed away, but is proven wrong a while later when she wakes up as a zombie and attacks him. With one pilot down and the entire plane infested by zombies, along with the sickening weather conditions, it's a whole mayhem. Megan, on the other hand, still tries to do her job but has no idea what to do. She calls the senior pilot to help her out, but he only instructs her to contain the chaos and get the passengers back to their seats. As Megan straps herself, she doesn't notice her colleague is also bitten by a zombie. Meanwhile, all the passengers are randomly attacked by zombies. This makes Dr. Bennett finally realize the intensity of the situation that he has brought about. He chooses to bolt and rushes to the cockpit. The senior pilot, Ray, doesn't open the door to help him though. Well, he deserves it. Now, with the entire plane in a state of panic, Billy tries to find answers. He attacks Dr. Bennett to get his answers and understand the situation, but all he says is to leave the plane as they will all die. To add to the horrifying situation, the weather is in favor of the zombies as the turbulence is causing the passengers to literally fall prey easily. The zombie flight attendant attacks Billy, who uses his golf stick to smack her away. See, finally, the stick that his wife's been complaining about has saved her. The cops have shown up on the site to shoot the zombies as well in a cool way. They aren't of much help though, as the zombies keep attacking all the human passengers. Everyone is running for their lives, except for the nun, who begins to pray. Well, hope God saves you from the meat-eating creatures. Oh, I guess not. Meanwhile, Megan's friend has completed the transformation and is feeding on the passengers. She tries to attack Megan, but Frank saves her by attacking the zombie friend with a fire extinguisher. They team up to protect themselves. On the other hand, the FBI and the general discover that the malaria virus is a serum transfer virus that had been created to make dead soldiers fight. They conclude that the flight must have been completely infected by now. To avoid a global crisis, they should destroy the plane before the virus reaches a populated area. Back in the plane, the nun finally shows some movement when she goes to save a passenger. It's of no use as she gets trapped as well. Frank and Megan try to save the nun, but the zombies tear her legs apart, causing her to bleed out and die. Now, to escape the infestation of zombies, Billy takes his wife, Dr. Bennett, and another woman through the vents. He asks the doctor the reason for making such a deadly virus, but he just replies that he was only following orders. In the cockpit, the injured junior pilot is banging on the door to let him in. He is miraculously still not transformed. Ray makes a big mistake by inviting the transforming zombie in, who kills him with no remorse. With zombies as pilots and passengers, humans are outnumbered. Going back to the remaining humans again, Paul and Truman are united with Megan and Frank. Together, they gather luggage to create a barrier. With a steady decline in the number of bullets, they have a limited time. They try to come up with a plan. In the midst of the chaos, the lady from the vent falls and gets taken away by the zombies. Frank comes up with a random plan and recklessly rips out some cables to help. It's not of much help though. In the vent, Dr. Bennett cannot keep his balance due to turbulence and falls in the cargo zone. He's attacked by the zombies waiting there. Frank's careless act has brought Billy and his wife to the rest of the team. Together, they try their best to contact the pilots and stay alive at the same time. When Megan receives no answer from the cockpit, they decide to fly the damn plane themselves. And here, Frank's knowledge to fly a jet to commit a crime makes its use. Their misfortunes don't end here when they realize that they need more ammunition to reach the cockpit. The cops remember that they have an automatic gun in the cargo zone. They get into action. Truman makes a bomb with limited resources and drops it. The cargo zone is in full flames while the rest of the plane is surprisingly fine. Truman goes down to get the guns but is attacked by the zombies who have survived the blast. He guns them down swiftly and fortunately comes back up. When he comes back, they see the jet that is supposed to annihilate the plane. They realize that they must respond to the radio communication in the cockpit to inform them that there are still civilians on the plane. Now they make their way to the cockpit. Time's running out and lives are at stake. Unfortunately, Billy and his wife fight off some zombies to buy them more time to reach the cockpit. They meet their end when zombified Dr. Bennett attacks them with several others. The remaining humans, except for Frank, safely make their way to the cockpit. Frank is bitten by an old zombie grandma. In the pit, Frank freaks out because he doesn't understand the configuration. He finally manages to turn the autopilot off and talks on the radio to signal the jet. They are successful, and the jet aborts the missile launch. The fighter pilot presses the abort key and the missile explodes away from the plane but manages to affect the side of it. The zombies get sucked out and some hit the fighter jet, making it explode. Truman and Frank think that they have controlled the plane but freak out yet again when they find mountains in their sight. Our hero, Frank, somehow manages to crash land the plane. The survivors happily make their way to the city. The movie ends with a group of zombie survivors lurching towards the city as well.